Rex had set out from the northwestern extreme of the Roman Empire, seeking answers, reunion, and revenge. Now here he was in the opposite corner, riding under the banner of a Roman consul, serving not just the empire that had enslaved his family, but the very man who had profited from it. When Legatus Galba ordered Rex and company to march to war in Mesopotamia, Rex agreed at once. The spell of master and servant was not yet broken. It was easy to see that something was wrong, and the long marches through the desert cost Rex a great many of his troops, escaping into the night. And they didn't even know the full extent of Rex's madness. Bagadatta, Rex's bodyguard, knew Rex's madness well, and he had announced that he was going to scout the path ahead, as he often did, before disappearing entirely. In the end, Rex had achieved nothing with his expedition, although his timely return had saved the lives of his tenants in the village of Arimathea. Their gratitude was the first instance of praise Rex had received in a while. Indeed, his leading retainers, Agasicles and Eadfrith, were not pleased with Rex's determination to win his freedom from Galba at all costs. Pullo and Aethna spent all their time with the soldiers, and Aliva was always scarcely seen. It seemed like the only friend Rex had in the world was one Legatus Helividius Galba. "Don't worry about it. I'll find another way to get her back," Galba said across the large desk in his command tent. "Who was it they took?" Rex replied. "My sister. Snatched her in the night while we were training. They had an inside man, for sure. Plenty of weird Eastern types in the army staff. Hey, did you ever see a one-eyed man with a fancy spear, weird accent, kinda Pontic? Bagadatta?" "What? You know that guy?" "He was my bodyguard, but he went missing in the desert. I was going to ask if you'd seen him." "Going missing in the desert is probably the last thing someone does, sorry to say." "Yeah." "He served you?" "Not really. Just worked in the camp outside the city for a while. Then took off around the same time my sister got taken by Parthia." "I don't think he had anything to do with it." "Why's that?" "Doesn't, Rex had been planning to say it was out of character for Bagadatta, but the best guess was that his disappearance had been in order to kill Galba, which didn't really support his case. Rex instead changed the subject. "Legatus, is it true the richest slave markets are in Rome?" "Of course. Must mean you haven't been there if you're asking that. I'll take you with me next time I have business." "You're looking for a fine slave, then? You can get the best of the haul out there, but you'll be bidding against some rich guys. If you need help, better off sticking to what we have here. You want me to send you someone?" "No, thank you. I don't keep slaves." "What? Now that's just not right. I'll give you the gold you need for your household at least." "No, it's because I don't want to. I don't want slaves." "Oh yeah. There's a couple of guys like you around. I know it ain't pretty, but it's what makes us great men. Gotta be something to run from. Examples to avoid, you know." Rex was shocked by that perspective. The secret of civilization's power, to harness the fear of becoming a slave. It surely worked, for it was what had got him sitting there in front of a Roman officer drinking wine with the guards dismissed. It made Rex feel like someone else. Deciding if that feeling was just an illusion would take some time. Galba assigned Rex an easy task in aid of the main army, and the secret slave left his master's welcoming company for the frigid camp of the champion's retinue. Hello and welcome to another episode of Rex Romanum. Right now we're doing one of these village battles where we need to save a village from bandits. Not especially for the sake of the village, although they will be helped. I'm doing it because I've got a little mission to train up a few legionaries into veterans to give to Galba, and just fighting these enemies will help us gain some experience. The fight itself was pretty easy. We can overwhelm the enemy, and Rex did quite a lot of work actually taking out enemies at the back as we advanced. So we won without any casualties, I think. Not counting the farmers, that is. Since they despawn after the fight anyway, I suppose it doesn't really count. I'm going to take some salt as my reward for this victory, which is going to be a little bit of a theme right now, because you might have spotted in my inventory I've already got a load of salt sitting around. I've basically started a little trade route, which I'll show you in a sec. The other thing I've been doing is looking around to see where the tournaments are, and I noticed after a not particularly thorough analysis that they always seem to come up in the same places, and there are some places where the tournaments never come up. And we happen to be in one of them in Jerusalem right now, so haven't done any tournaments recently. Now here I am buying up all the salt in Jerusalem, because Jerusalem seems to spawn salt at a particularly low price and a fast rate, so we can buy it up, take it to nearby Antiochia, and sell it at something closer to its average price and make a load of money. You can do this with a lot of products in Mountain Blade, but in this mod in particular, this salt seems to replenish really quickly, so you can just go backwards and forwards and keep doing it. I went down to Malakat. This is one of the places where the tournaments are constantly being held, but as I was there wasn't a tournament, unfortunately. It's on the west coast of Arabia. I was doing some checking of the prices with Pillow. He tells me that taking some silver back to Iberia would be a good idea, but I realised that when it gives you these recommendations, it pretty much means taking it anywhere will be a good idea, and in this case I just take it to the next city over Hegra and make a couple of 100 gold selling a couple of pieces of silver, all perfectly safe, and by the time we get back to Jerusalem, the salt is here again, so it's time to start buying up a load of that, and we'll take it up to Antiochia. We can do the same thing with mead and beer, which spawns here as well sometimes. One more thing that helps us out with this little trade route is that Arimathea also produces salt and sells it extremely cheaply. We can sell that off at 10 times the price we're buying it. So that's a nice little trade route for anyone actually playing the mod and wants to make some money. It's a bit boring to go up and down constantly getting money like this, so I didn't do it all that much, but there it is. What I'm trying to do is build my relation with Galba, as you may remember, and we've just completed that quest to train some soldiers for him. I didn't actually fight anyone to complete it, because our party has sufficient training skill that our guys just level up on their own. So while I was wandering around trading things, we got the level ups we need and handed the troops over. He gave us one of these Hunt the Bandit quests, and we already know where the camp is, because it happens to be on the default route between Jerusalem and Antiochia, so I'd already seen it. But again, this is the bandit camp map, where it's all glitchy and the enemies spawn right on the edges of the map, sometimes off the map. So we end up having a couple of small fights. I go up to the top right, there's a few guys who come onto these cliffs to challenge us, and it usually comes down to not being able to reach the last couple of guys, so you have to cheat to kill them, and that makes the next wave spawn, and some of those guys are possible to kill. You might think it's a little bit cheeky to be only going to the top right of the map and leaving the enemies in the top left and then just killing them with cheats. But I later found out you actually can't even get to the bottom left of the map, or at least when I tried to get there, it proved to be impossible due to invisible walls. So in retrospect, this was less cheaty than expected. There were a few more enemies I managed to find over on some cliffs right in the very corner of the map. They were kind of stuck there, though I'm not sure they could pathfind away, so the archer we had in our party finished off the rest of the viable enemies, and we took the victory home to hand in to Galba after selling off all the loot, of course, and making a load more money. The next quest that Galba has for us is the one where Aliva is mysteriously scurried away to do something with him. You might note, by the way, that his name isn't actually Aliva, it's Avila. I just misspelled it in my own notes before making the series and have been saying Aliva all along. However, that is now canon, in case anyone was wondering. So now all I need to do is wait around and we'll complete this quest and get more of that precious relationship juice. But actually, while waiting around, another interesting quest came up. When Rex entered Galba's tent, he didn't receive the usual smiling welcome. Galba had been staring at a scroll held close to his face, which he hurriedly stowed away in a box before wordlessly gesturing for Rex to sit down. The guards remained this time. "You, Erland, are more famous than I thought," he began. He wasn't the first Roman official to have expressed this cryptic sentiment, but unlike with Lunius Maximus, Rex felt he could ask for the literal meaning. "Well, I don't want to tell you if you don't already know. I need to talk to your man Aliva, it seems." Then what do you know about Aliva? I know he's the man I gotta talk to. What do you mean? Who is he? You can keep asking if you like, and I'll keep telling you all I can tell you. He's involved in some business that you'll want to steer clear of. The less you know, the better. I realize that's like the least persuasive argument out there, but right now it's the truth. I hope you know I wouldn't lie to you about it, after all you've done here. With little recourse, Rex agreed to send Aliva to the camp. Agacicles wasn't going to be needing his glamorous assistant for a while anyway, with all the construction work to fortify Arimathea having been completed. Galba changed the subject of conversation by opening a large chest beside his desk, revealing it to be filled to the brim with silver coins. Now, I got another job for you. Not an official one this time. Personal. Whatever you need, my lord. First, need you not to tell anyone about this. Look, here's the deal. I found my sister. Parthians sold her off to some slavers. Told them who she was, too, so now they want to make a return on their investment. You're going to buy her freedom. Not really. She isn't a legitimate slave. Ona isn't a citizen. Guess you don't know about how all that works with your preferences. Basically, it's a ransom. I need you to take the payment and bring her back. That's it. Before you ask, no, I can't send my men. You're going deep into the east. Gotta be someone neutral, or the whole army. And I'm going to Rome in 2 days. With Aliva. Galba glared at Rex, but couldn't resist a smirk. I should never get to talking, should I? Forget that. Can you do this for me? Of course. But I think we should inform the consul and prepare a contingency plan. Galba suddenly burst out laughing, and then fell into a tired slump in his seat. There sure are a lot of crazy people out there. I'm not even talking about the consul. Look, there are reasons why everyone needs to think it wasn't you who did this. You're too popular, as I said. Doesn't make any sense, right? Trust me, I don't know what's going on out there either. It'll keep me out of trouble if this just happens, no names attached. And if you trust me, I'll trust you to get my sister back in one piece. There's no telling you how much that would mean to me, champion. It seemed like the perfect way to convince Galba to free a certain other individual from slavery, so despite the veil of mystery around the exact circumstances, Rex agreed to make another march into the east, longer than ever before. We're going to leave the Empire for a bit once again and go on a very long march to the other side of the Parthian Empire to try and rescue a kidnapped girl. On the way we'll have to pass through hostile territory and our party may be easily overcome by an enemy army. However, we had some pretty good luck. Just as I arrived at the Parthian core territories, Rome and Parthia made peace, so now not only can I freely pass through these lands, but I can stop in at cities and get supplies, and even do a little bit of buying and selling if these cities happen to have anything cheap. Here Pillow points out a few decent deals at Ctesiphon, and we pick up a few items since we do have to pass by another city on the way out the other side of the Parthian Empire. That's all fine. The real challenge here is only going to be morale, since no one's going to fight us. The only problem is that our men are getting tired of being marched day and night to get to our destination. This is because this quest has a time limit, so I need to rush as much as I can. Fortunately, as I reached the city of Pura, I was able to sell off a couple of slaves to increase our speed, and well, they're selling salt. I have to partake. And what we need to do is rest in the cities in order to get our morale back. In the morning you'll get a large morale boost if you stayed at an inn, and even during the night I'm losing more troops. I've lost a handful of men to desertion already, and we need to put a stop to that. The time limit on the quest is 2 weeks. I've got 9 days left and we're almost at the destination, so it looks like we're going to make it as long as we keep rushing at least a little bit. Challenged someone to a duel there, but they declined, not wanting to fight the champion Erland surely. We arrive at the destination, a village out east, where there's a squad of bandits with the girl who we're supposed to ransom. My party's been diminished by desertion, but I can spend some money to upgrade what members we have left to make ourselves a little bit more prepared for battle. The reason I'm preparing for battle is because there is going to be one. You don't have to fight the bandits here, you can just give them the ransom, and that effectively does the job. But you can also demand that they release the girl before you give them the ransom, and this makes them so annoyed that they just forget the girl and try to kill you. Now, if you can win the ensuing battle, you can get the girl without giving away the ransom. So we now have a little fight going on in the mist. I'm going to be more conservative than usual in this battle. I decided to wait around behind the shield wall and just watch my men dealing with the enemy as they came in. But as the fight gets started, I'm going to go out there and not necessarily help all that much, but just be a distraction. The usual mountain blade tactic, just being out here causes some of the enemies to turn around and look at me. Not that many in this case actually, there is a massive brawl going on there, but our troops are heavy whereas the enemy's troops are light, and many of the enemies don't have shields as well, so our men can annihilate them in melee, and almost as soon as the fight starts, it's over. There we go. We did take a couple of casualties. Some of the bandits have good attacking power, but overall we annihilated the enemy, and with that victory we not only get a whole load of loot etc, but we get the kidnapped girl who is added to your party as a non-combatant. Now all we need to do is go back to where we started without the time limits running out. The time limit's a little bit arbitrary, but we have to go by it. On the way I stopped off at Pura, and once again I was able to sell off the slaves that I took in that battle. That's going to speed up our journey. I made it all the way to Ctesiphon, where I stayed the night because our men were on the verge of deserting, so I just about got the morale back in time. After staying the night though, we were starting to cut things a little bit fine. There were 3 days left now to get to Jerusalem across the desert. Fortunately, it turns out that this journey takes 1.5 or a little bit more days if you just sprint for it without stopping anywhere, and we were able to make it before the time limit ran out. So the quest is completed, and while we get rewarded for this quest, the real reward is that we still have the ransom. They gave us the ransom money to pay out, but they don't ask for it back even if you didn't pay the ransom, meaning we made thousands from that quest. That was a pretty good deal. The other thing it does is give us reputation with the town. We've only got 2 reputation. In my mind I thought you needed 5 reputation in order to buy a business, which is always the objective in any town, but that must have been in other mods. In this one, just having a positive reputation is enough to buy businesses. Looking around, the prices are still pretty high, so we need some more money in order to do this, and this time we have the means to get the money legitimately. One method I can use is to go and visit the Invisible Man down in our village. This Invisible Man handles the treasury of our estate, and we've built up some money in it from our rents and business income, so we just need to withdraw that. Now that's a massive portion of the money that we need acquired. I did a couple of trade runs from Jerusalem to Antiochia, and I also did this bandit camp mission again, and this was the time I discovered that it just seemed to be impossible to reach the enemies in the bottom left corner, and in this case they had all spawned in the bottom left corner, so actually nothing happened at all, and I had to cheat my way back out of that scene to escape. But that did mean I got a load of free loot, got the money for completing the quest, and that also almost maxed out my relationship with Galba. He doesn't have any more quests we can do, so I'm going to effectively say I've completed my objective of getting Galba to really like us, so we're nearly ready now to pop the question and move on in our overall quest. First though, I'm going to drop a cool 20k on a tannery. So there we have it, our income for the party will now be increased. And every time we do this, it gets a bit easier to do it again. Hopefully we'll spiral up to the point where money is no longer an issue one day. For now, I'm going to hang about in Arimathea before we move on. I had something special this morning, Captain, Pillow told Rex as he sat down beside him, looking out over the dusty field in which the villagers were being drilled by Idfrith. The last Iberian silver mine closed, Rex said, not looking up from his half-eaten apple. Better than that. I was strolling to my business around sunrise when I heard a strange voice up round the barn. Took a cheeky peek, and it was none other than Stoneman Aliva and the dog chatting it up. You heard Aliva talk? Now the apple was food for the ants. By Jupiter and Juno, it's the truth. What were they saying? Not sure. Arguing, I'd say. bit too hushed to get it clear. Might be something between them. Oh. Pillow grinned and kicked the apple down the slope towards a wide-eyed goat. You were hoping for something yourself? What about the Lady Elfwin? Rex awkwardly waved the question away like it was a smell and turned his back. What was his voice like? Like the docks, Germanic sounding, but it was Latin he spoke. Pretty good too. Lack of practice hasn't harmed him. Clearly he speaks to someone. He's involved in something in Rome, which is why the legates keep asking for his help. Smacks of trouble, that does. Couple of us could do without him ratting us out to the Emperor's manhunters, eh? Yeah, I know. Can't be that bad, or we'd have been stopped by now. I need to focus on our next move at the moment, though. Time to break free. To be let free. Just have to think of a way to put it. Well, I might be a cracking salesman, but I don't think I can help you. You needn't. I'll deal with it. Then, we head to Rome before any other madness can catch up to us. Pillow gave a cheer and rushed to inform the others of the good news. Riches, land, soldiers, and his own people. Rex had it all, but for a simple piece of paper saying that he was a free man. If all the former needed to be traded for the latter, then so be it, he thought. There was a bit of action in Arimathea because I did the quest that forces bandits to attack the town after you train the peasantry. But while the peasantry may be trained, with Rex's own village on the line, you know he's going to get himself out there to try and end things as well as possible. And we do actually bring down loads of enemies rampaging around here, even on the hillside, the very hillside that previously I refused to rampage around on, thinking it wouldn't be a very good idea. So we've learned something there, and it ended up being a pretty good battle with no actual deaths, only deaths among the peasantry who despawn. Anyway, we don't need any reward, we'll just make the people like us. In theory, having your village really like you allows you to recruit troops who are above the lowest troop level, but didn't work in that case. I'm not sure what level of relationship you need for that to happen. As for what we're actually going to do next, there was an invitation to a feast somewhere up in Anatolia, and I thought that might be a good space for us to go and actually try and pop the question to Galba and start arranging for ourselves to be technically a Roman citizen and have everyone realise in the process that we weren't one already, of course. Also, check out this massive profit I'm making selling all this salt off again. This represents the fact that I did this lots of times over the course of this episode's general time period, but usually I didn't make you watch it. Anyway, so yes, now we head off towards the feast. There's a convoy of other officers going there as well, and I'm going to cut off the episode here because the events of this feast will dictate the direction of the next part of the series, so we'll save that for the start of the next episode. While Rex's retainers and troops had not agreed with his campaigns across the Middle East, they had ultimately served their purpose. On the surface, it appeared that Rex was now a trusted officer of Legatus Galba, but it was clear that beneath the surface there was something troubling growing over time. The longer he waited, the more likely it would be that things would go wrong. It was time to test if his deeds had earned him the Empire's mercy. That is it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to all OfficiallyDevin patrons. We'll be heading out of Roman Asia and meeting a strangely familiar face in the next part of Rex Romanum.